Hey everybody. So far we've been discussing some of the real numbers, classifications, and comparing them. Also, we talk about absolute value, and last time we actually did a lot of practice of adding integers. So today we will focus on subtracting integers. Obviously, you will see there is a difference between adding integers and subtracting integers, but we will follow the same exact rule adding integers. There is only one thing that you have to do before you actually start adding your numbers. So, go ahead and write down the topic of the lesson, subtracting integers, and I want you to write those two things that are very, very important thing. First one, add a line and change the sign. So what that means, I will explain just in a second, but go ahead and write this down. And second thing will be follow addition rules. So here is what this adding a line and change the sign means. And that's only thing you gotta remember when you're working with subtracting integers. So adding a line means you add a line between the numbers, okay? Or pretty much on the second sign. So we have negative 4 minus 3. I will add the line here and will change the sign of this. So you add negative sign here and you're changing or you're adding a line through the sign between the numbers. So negative 4 plus negative 3. What happened now? I changed the subtraction of the integers to addition of the integers. And we learn that if we're adding two numbers with the same sign, we add the numbers. 4 and 3 is 7, and then we keep the sign. So negative 7 will be my answer here. Let's take a look of the next example. So that will be equal to every time you have those parentheses and two negatives uh, close to each other or touching almost each other, we always change those to positive. So now what I will get here will be negative 28 plus 4. Well, this is addition of integers. Negative 28 plus 4 is two numbers with opposite sign. We have to subtract those, so 28 minus 4 is 24. And we keep the sign of the larger number. In this case, 28 is larger than 4. 28 has a negative sign up front, so my answer will also be negative. Another example, we have 4 minus 9. Rule number 1, add a line here and change this number sign. So we have 4 plus negative 9, two numbers with opposite signs, when it means we have to subtract those. 9 minus 4 is 5, and the larger number has negative sign, so we keep the answer as a negative number. Alright, so if you can remember those rules, you would not have any problems dealing with subtracting integers. So let's go ahead now and take a look of some other examples that may require a couple steps. So another example will be subtract integers and absolute values. If we're dealing with integers only, we just need to make sure we work the signs correct. If we're dealing with absolute values, you have to convert to what they are equal to as a integer. So, saying that, let's take a look at this. Negative 5 minus negative 7 plus 14. Those two negatives immediately I will change to plus because you don't want to forget. So negative 5, this changed to plus 7 and then plus 14. Now I need to deal with one sign between, so negative 5 plus 7. When we're adding opposite sign numbers, we subtract those, so we get 2, and then you keep the sign of the larger. The larger in this case is 7, so the answer here is positive, and then drop this number down, plus 14. So what is 2 plus 14? This will give me 16. 16 will be my final answer here. With the next example, I have negative absolute value of negative 32. Well, absolute value is always just the number. no negative sign in front. Then minus, this negative is outside the absolute value, so I'm going to just copy the sign down. And absolute value of 57 is just 57. So now we have to calculate the difference of 57 and 32. And in this case, we're going to have 25. 25. So 57 minus 32 is 25. And if we follow, the change the line, so making this positive, adding a line, and keeping this negative, the larger number of those two is 57 with a negative sign. So negative 25 will be my final answer here. Alright, so take a moment to complete the examples, and when you're ready, you can step and move forward to the next example. So my next example is, I have given problems on the left and right side, and once I solve those problems, then I will be able to compare the answers. Which one, left or right side, is larger, it's greater or less than or equal to each other. So how do we do that? We have 4 minus 17. Well, we change this to plus and this to minus. So we have basically 4 plus negative 17, which will be 4 plus negative 17 will be negative 13 as answer. 17 minus 4, 13, larger number, has a negative sign. Next one is, so I'm gonna have an open space here, 15 minus 8. You can tell me 15 minus 8 is 7, but if you want to follow the rules, you change this to plus and this to negative. So 15 plus negative 8 is, the difference between those two is 7. We keep the sign of the larger number, so positive 7. Once you have one answer for both of those, then you can compare and tell which one is bigger. Well, positive numbers are always larger than negatives, so the sign will go in this direction. On the left side, we have, on the very left, I have negative 4 plus 15 minus 1. So we have to solve the first two first, and then we will subtract 1. So negative 4 plus 15 is just 11 minus 1. Copy this down, leave the space, and then negative 87 plus 75. So the difference between those two are 87 minus 75 will be equal to, what is it, 12? 12. And then, because 87 is larger than 75 and it has a negative sign, so negative 12 will be my answer here. Now, notice I'm not done yet to compare those two numbers because I'm not done solving this one. So I have to do one more step. 11 minus 1 is just 10. Open space, negative 12. So 10 and negative 12, well, larger number is positive 10. And that's how we end the examples. Okay, well, use the power button. You're the one who control the whole system and the video learning process. So pause it if you need to, rewatch it from the beginning if something is still confusing before you move on to the next example. And if you're ready, you can just follow me. Another similar example is this one. 5 minus 9 minus negative 18. So let's take care of those two negatives that are touching each other. I just don't like those like this. So let's combine those. Those two combined, they make positive. Those two combined make positive. Alright, well, let's rewrite the problem. So we will have 5 minus 9 plus 18, open space, 11 plus 1, or plus 7, sorry, this is number 7 here. Alright, well, let's start solving. 5 minus 9, in this case we change that to plus, and this becomes negative. So 5 plus negative 9 is equal to negative 4 plus 18, open space, 11 plus 7 is 18. Okay, we'll do one more step because we're not done with this one. Negative 4 plus 18 is positive 14. Open space 18. Which one is larger between 14 and 18? Well, 18 is the larger number. And with that example, I will move through some word problems. So now we get to see, excuse me, again how to use those integers in real life examples. So here's what we have. Jamal earned 855 mowing lawns. $855 for mowing lawns this summer. He had to purchase gas for the mower that totaled of $111. He also had some repairs cost for $50. At the end of the summer, one customer gave him a bonus of $25. What was the total profit, or what is basically left for him after all the expenses and everything what he earned? So here's what I want you to do. You may not write down this whole thing, but I want you to write down the information given from the problem. So what do we know? First thing, we know that Jamal earned total of $855. Then he purchased gas that was total of, so for gas he spent $111, and I will say minus because when you purchase something, when you buy something, you spend money, so I will minus those 111. Then he had some repairs that cost him $50, so I will put repairs, another minus $50. But at the end of the summer, one of the customers really liked his job and he gave him a bonus. So basically this bonus is addition. So he had those $25 as addition to his earnings. What was the total profit that he made? So here's what we're gonna do. We will take the total price 855 and we will subtract 111. Then we'll subtract $50 for repairs, but we're gonna add $25 because the bonus is something as he receives. And then we will start calculating those numbers. So we will start with those two numbers first. 855 minus 111, this will give us 744. Make sure you copy the rest, so minus 50 and then plus 25. So now we will subtract 744 minus 50. 744 minus 50 will give us 694 and then plus 25. So final step, we're adding those two numbers and we will get $719 as a profit or money that he got in his pocket. So from $855, Jamal was able to make 719. The difference between those two were some expenses that he had to pay for. And the very last example for this particular lesson is when we have given expressions. Well, sometimes we have given, you know that in math and algebra we deal with variables. And those variables could be used, and when there is no equal sign given or just variables, just numbers, we call that expressions. So now they're asking us to evaluate those expressions. In order to evaluate expressions with variables, well, first thing you have to know what the variable is equal to. So that's why we have given that m equals -7, n equals -9, and p equals 12. So let's go ahead and substitute. If m is negative 7, I will have negative 7. Then I will just bring down this negative sign, and then p is given to be number 12. So I need to evaluate what is negative 7 minus 12. But my rule for subtracting integers will help me, because I'm going to add line here and I will make this negative. So now, but when I'm adding two negative numbers, I add the numbers 7 and 12 as 19, and I keep the sign because they both are negative. So negative 19 will be my final answer here. Same thing with n minus m. N is negative 9. Bring the sign down here. And m is negative 7. So be aware that when the variable is negative, you have to bring the negative sign. Don't forget that. So the two negative signs, we said they always change to positive. So we're going to have negative 9 plus 7. Well, when we're adding two numbers with different sign, we subtract those two. So 9 minus 7 is 2, and we write down the sign of the larger, which in this case is 9. So negative 2 will be the final answer. And one more to go, the video will be almost done. M minus 5 plus p. So m is negative 7 minus 5 plus p is 12. Negative 7 minus 5, I will change that by my rule. So negative 7 plus negative 5 is negative 12 plus 12. Alright, well, negative 12 plus 12. If we have opposite signs, we gotta subtract those. 12 minus 12 is 0, and none of those actually is larger. And also we know that 0 doesn't have a negative sign, so we just leave it like that as the final answer. Awesome. Well, let's get some work done. Let me know if you have questions. Thank you for watching the video and have a great day.